What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be checking out the demo for a title that's available on the Steam Next Fest right now. This has been a really weird week, dude. This is the first Next Fest that I've ever seen where every single day I'm not uploading a Next Fest demo, because this Next Fest is really sparse. There is like nothing in it but Vampire Survivors clones. But I do have something I want to show you here today. This game is called Polylithic, and honestly, I don't know if you guys were like as disappointed about Far Cry Primal as I was, but this is a game that is an open world kind of survival RPG with a tribe of cavemen. It's very early and it's very rough, but it's also based on anthropological science, so like you move through the time periods, like inventing better and better caveman tools, you know, starting out with flint-napped rocks and moving your way up to various like obsidians and knives and things of that nature. It's a little wonky, it's a little buggy, and it's got some really dubious decisions in here that we're going to talk about when we get there. But I think overall, actually, they have a really good aesthetic, and I think overall they have a really good idea. The question comes down to whether or not they can get it polished up and ready for the prime time and get rid of all these weird little annoying issues before they get to their release window, especially since the game seems to be made by just like a very small group. It's kind of up in the air right now, but I still wanted to show it off because I'm a big fan of Caveman stuff. So if after watching this you wanted to get the game for yourself, the demo's live during the Steam Next Fest. You can find the link down below. You can also find a link to my Discord and my Twitch stream down there, where I always stream on days where videos are up. Let's hit this thing.
There was a time when the sun shined bright. With triumph vast, no end in sight. We tamed the world to serve our will. Days turned dark when sickness struck, and all faded away. It's over, I'm too old to lead. But you, with youth and might, you can bring us back to light.
So there you go. That's the intro to Polylithic right there, which I thought was pretty good. So welcome to the beginning of the game. It's going to give us a random tribe member. And you should think of the tribes in this. I don't know if you ever played Azazel mode from like Stalker Gamma, but this game is kind of like Azazel mode. You have a whole bunch of tribesmen. You can't swap between them freely as far as I can tell, but like when this tribe member dies, you just automatically swap into control of like another tribe member from how I understand it. So there are some basic things we need to get on top of before we go any further on into the game. Top left, we've got our health meter and our hunger meter. Those two things are combined. And then we've also got our stamina meter. I would definitely recommend separating this on out. It's an interesting conceptualization, but it makes you kind of prone to getting annihilated if you're not constantly like overfed. And so I would actually probably add a hunger meter in here and just have your health be independent and have like regen dictated by how full you are, like what foods you ate. Not that big of a deal, but just a thing I noticed playing the game for 2 or 3 hours. We got to talk to the Elder. Let's go ahead and do that. He's going to give us some preliminary tasks to play around with. Things like gathering rocks and making our first chopper. This game is very beautiful. You've probably noticed that about the art style. It tends to blend something like low poly aesthetics with just a really interesting watercolor, almost like Van Gogh inspired color palette. It looks really good. Like, it's a really fantastically good looking game. The only downside here is that they don't have any occlusion or anything for the trees. So when you're walking through like densely forested areas, you basically can't see your character or anything that you might be hunting or tracking. I tend to go overhead like this when I have to do that kind of stuff, and the game does give you a fully adjustable camera if that's the kind of thing that you want to have. But at the same time, definitely when I walk behind this tree right here, there should be a cutout of occlusion that shows my character, or even just make these fade out entirely when they get to like right there on screen. Like when you cross over the threshold, it should just fade out. And for all intents and purposes, that tree should not exist aside from collision for the player unless they rotate the camera around to a position where it's no longer blocking the character's view. I'm just going to gather up some things right now. We've got the rocks. The game does have a full crafting system right here. This crafting system is going to move up a tech tree, and it is going to advance as you play through the game. So like, for example, I can make this chopper right here by flint napping these two rocks together. So now I have a chopper, which means that I will use it to, you know, slice up animals if I hunt them, or like certain tasks will require a cutting tool. Honestly, what this game kind of reminds me of, I forget the name of it, but there was like a game, God, what was that game where you played like a tribe of gorillas that like slowly evolved? You were like a tribe of like orangutans or something like that. I don't remember what game it was, but it was like on the PC and the Xbox. It was really, really good though. I liked it a lot. It was somewhat repetitive. It was a really unique title. And you play like a tribe of monkeys that are like slowly evolving by banging rocks together and fighting snakes with spears. This game kind of reminds me of that, where you like do activities and people have ideas and then they'll be like, oh, and then you'll have like a new set of objects you can create out of like a new material. You can build these houses. This game is a base builder, by the way. You can build all these houses. We don't have that right now, but we will. You actually have to realistically build this structure. So like you build the inner ribbing first, then you build the covering, then you build the decorations, then you build the other stuff on top. It's kind of cool, man. The game's got some interesting ideas. Like I said, there's some interesting ideas here. They want me to craft a weapon and hunt an animal. Shouldn't be too difficult. We are going to have to run them down the old-fashioned way. But in order for us to catch a critter, I think we're going to need to have, ooh, nuts. Sure, yeah, get up on that nut tree. I don't like the way that those disappear. They disappear a little starkly. I would almost recommend that instead of disappearing starkly like that, maybe they swell a little bit and then shrink into themselves before disappearing to give it almost like a forager vibe or like a zoop, like kind of thing going on to make it look a little bit more artistically and visually pleasing. Over on this side, we'll grab these roots. These are food. We do have to feed everybody. If you look right here, we have food upkeep for all of our characters. The more characters you have supplying you with workforce and also supplying you with extra lives, the more food per day you have to supply to the tribe in order to keep everybody alive. I don't remember exactly. Are there like any twigs around here? There we go. So we've got twigs. What I need to do now is I need to... Let's see. I think we need to make a string. And once the string has been made, we need to make a club, actually. It looks like we don't have the next tier up with stone tools. So we're still like beating stuff to death with like a table leg. We can also get into our inventory from right here. I'm going to go ahead and put that on my 4 key. In every survival RPG ever, every video game ever, my 4 key is always my weapon and always has been. And so that's just like default. Do you guys have that key when you play a video game that you always assign your weapons to? Or like you always assign your axe to? For me, it's 1 is axe, 2 is pickaxe, 3 is usually like shovel or like knife, 4 is going to be my weapon. And then from there, I just fill everything else in freely with what feels right. But that's kind of the pattern that I've always used. These roots are edible right here, so we definitely want to pick those up on our way back home. I'm going to keep an eye out for any kind of critter around here that we can beat to death. And in fact, I see one. We need to get this chicken right here. I'm losing him in the context of the shadows of the trees, though. Where'd he go? There he is. All right. I missed. He turned. There we go. I think we got him. It's kind of hard to tell, though. We can carve him. There's a quick time event for carving chickens and deer, stuff like that, but we don't need to do it right now. That concludes our quest. We'll finish that off, and now we have unlocked Moosterian crafting recipes. That is to say, recipes from when mooses were the dominant life force on the planet. We need to grow the tribe. Growing the tribe is pretty easy. They just spawn out of the ground like urukai, but we need to have food in order to buy a new tribe member. So what we'll do is we'll come over to the food storage. We're going to drop off all those roots. We're going to drop off our nuts. This is actually one of the rare cases where it's okay to put your nuts inside the food supply. Most people generally have a distaste for that kind of behavior. But for our society, it kind of works. I do hope they get it so that the portrait matches up with your character over here and like whatever they look like. I'd also like the ability to like customize my character, you know, give them like a beard and stuff like that along the way. Now that I have that in, we should be able to get a new person. No. What is the 20 foods that is missing? So we've got 19. It's probably because the nuts and the meat are not cooked and you got to cook them first before they count as a food. That's probably what's got us in trouble right there. It's a deer storm! The deer are upon us! Fight for your lives! The AI for animals in this game is kind of weird, man. Every now and again, they'll just kind of like wander around and you can murder like 500 of them because their models are like tripping over one another. It's pretty awesome, dude. If you're trying to eat, it works out pretty well. Well, let's carve up these deers real fast. I don't know if we'll have time to make use of them anytime soon, but it does give us a shocking amount of, like, antlers and leathers and other things that we can use for, like, you know, future advancement. I believe I have mostly gathered up the things that I need to have in order to spawn our new tribe member. And we definitely want the new tribe member because they can follow us around and they can help us out with the gathering and whatnot. So it's just going to make life easier. I'm going to take that right there. Oop, I didn't want to throw that on the ground, but I still have the menu open. There we go. Let me have that. And then here, we'll eat that to get our health meter back up. So eat we have. And now I should be able to get the new tribe member. There we go. New tribe member ready to go. And there's the new tribe member right there. We can walk up and talk to this guy. So the thing with Drogon is he's not going to know how to do anything. Like if you go to his task menu, people in this game learn to do stuff as they watch you do it. And as they do various things. So like I'm going to throw on my best teaching moo-moo. And we're going to walk this guy on out into the middle of nowhere. And we're just going to have him, like, gather stuff along with us. And what you'll see is we're not giving him any direction right now. He's just picking up anything and everything he sees us picking up. And as he picks things up, that's going to be really, really good. Because I think, if we take a look, they're not going directly into my inventory. But I can ask him to give me what's inside of his inventory. And so it's going to really, really speed up this process. Now, if we wanted to keep moving down the Mousterian tech tree, I think the next thing that we definitely need is that we need an axe and we need like a mallet. So the mallet is for building, the axe is for fighting and for chopping down trees. I think it's a really, really good idea to go ahead and get one of those. So in order to craft that, we're going to need a flint. I think flint is inside this menu right here. Yeah, because Mousterian, that means that we've kind of moved to the part of the tech tree now where we're using stones for everything. We're using napped stone for everything. And so society has advanced a little bit. We've gotten a little bit more sophisticated. The other thing that I needed was... What did I need? Oh, no, we're good. There we go. So we've got our axe. One quality of life thing that is missing from this game is that there's no way to, like, bulk craft. And in a lot of situations in this title, it's apparent that they expect you to bulk craft. Like, they'll give you, like, an order that will make the tribe more successful to bring in, like, 35 javelins or something. So that, like, a hunting force can go out and do some activity, like, you know, whatever you do with javelins out in the middle of the woods. I'm guessing impaling and murdering things. But it will expect you to deliver that enormous batch of items. But ultimately, sorry, these little guys get stuck from time to time. Like I said, this is a very rough work in progress. But if they can get stuff like the nav meshes and the pathfinding ironed out, I think this could be a really cool, really unique title. As I was saying, it's expected of the player to batch order things, but there's kind of like a crafting system in play where all you can really do is repeatedly click on the crafting thing over and over and over again, and there are a little bit of like rough edges right there too. All right, so we've had a couple pop-ups. I think this guy now knows how to gather certain things. Yeah, he can do rocks, he can do roots. It looks like he can't hunt or do anything like that just yet. I should probably show him how to beat something to death so that he learns how to hunt, and I can send him out to go get meat and whatnot. But it's getting kind of dark right now, and I feel like it's sort of a dangerous world for us to be in while it's this dark. I'm going to go ahead and light up the fire right here, and then we'll just add a little bit more to it as well. There we go. Keep that thing nice and lit. Good. So we've got our fire. It would be a really nice detail, too, if the light radius off of the fire got a little bit bigger in like 10% increments effectively. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to roast up all this meat, and then we'll just kind of come back in the morning and handle all the rest of our tasks. Okay, so in the dead of the night, I've got all 30 of these meats roasted up, so that should help out the colony a little bit. There we go. Those are now edible, and the super good news is the guy that's following me around also learned how to roast meat while I was doing it. So technically, we can leave him back at camp now, and if we don't want to handle all the cooking, we can just make him do it. So there you go. I'm going to add that task right there. If there is meat available, roast that meat. This guy right here is going to give us another quest. The next quest is that we have to go take a look at a monument. I don't know exactly what the monument does. I haven't gotten that far. I've played around with the game, and I got caught up like sandboxing and like fiddling around with what you can do inside the systems and didn't get too much farther with like the quest advancement. But we're going to try to do that today. I'm going to have this guy follow me around too while I do it. That way, so it's just to the east over this way. One modification they could make to the gameplay, by the way, to make it a little bit better. With this mini-map up here, give a vision cone on the mini-map. Since the game has a completely free camera that you can do whatever you want, give a vision cone on here that represents where the camera is looking versus where the player character's model is looking. It makes navigation a lot easier. It's one of those little things that you don't always use it while you're running around in the middle of the hinterland, but you do sometimes use it, and it's invaluable in those moments where you actively need to contrast those two perspectives. Oh, our monument is in the middle of a big, beautiful field this time around. Cool, man. I don't think I can outrun a deer. Yeah, like usually when I get a deer, it's because they get stuck on something. Much like my companion back here, who is now stuck on something. If your companion gets stuck, this is going to be a frequent thing that goes wrong, all right? You're just going to need to get used to this. It's going to happen from time to time. The little cavemen get stuck on stuff like all the time. This is probably one of the biggest, most pressing issues to fix with this demo, is just that the cavemen get stuck on everything. However, back out into our big, beautiful eastern field. This time I'm just going to leave him behind if he gets stuck. You still stuck, buddy, or are you with me? We're in an open field right now, so I'd hope you'd be okay. But you can do interesting things. Like, you can have, like, 10 tribe guys following you around, and you can give them all javelins. And if they all have javelins, like, they'll throw at the same time you throw to, like, take down a mammoth. Like, there's, like, a bunch of interesting things you can do inside the context of this game that make me think it's going to be, like, a wonky, janky, beautiful thing that I'm really going to enjoy playing. Let's go hit this monument real fast before I forget to do so. The game does have an open world map. I really, really like it. It looks like a cloth map that someone has drawn on with like either like crayon or like colored charcoal or something like that. It very much matches up with sort of the aesthetic watercolor tone of the game that they've got going on. Honestly, on a visual level, I think they've done everything right with this game. It's a really, really good looking title. I think the combat system needs to be smoothed out. Like, the fighting should feel a little bit better, especially since the game seems to thrust you into hunting and combat reasonably early on into a run. But other than those little things, like people getting stuck and stuff like that, there we go. There's our monument. I'm just going to go back to town. So we're back on the block, and the sun is coming up. We no longer have to walk around in the dark. We've completed this quest. The next quest is going to be for us to do this enormous work order that's going to bring us up into the era of using bone and leather and hide. So this quest here has a time limit, and if you fail it, nothing good happens. I don't recommend weaponizing your tutorial like that and adding time limits to it that cause the player to like fail out quests and stuff that early. It's just not good, and I think in this one it actually makes you restart, but I'd have to check it. But basically it's not retroactive. I made all this stuff and I put it all in the stockpile so that we could migrate before I took the quest. And then when I took the quest, none of it counted, so I had to do it all over again in under 15 minutes. It was very hectic and stressful. So don't take this quest until you have at least all the stuff on you to craft like all of these things. That would be my advice. For now, let me take a look and see what I have. So that's the sum total of what I have in order to craft the things that I need to craft in order to get this done. Taking a look at the list, we needed 5 clubs, we needed 10 javelins, 5 clubs, and 5 axes, which are like the tough part. I think I have the stuff on me to do that. I think. So for the axes, for example, we're going to need 5 flints, and we're going to need 5 strings. So let's knock that out. Okay, so I have all the stuff manufactured for the axes right now. We can make all of those. It only takes logs for the clubs, so we've obviously got the 5 of those. The issue that I think we're going to run into is probably the javelins. We're going to need like 30 logs in order to get all the javelins done, on top of the 25 that the quest demands of us. So I'd like to be able to knock out all the javelins in one go. That way we can just put them on in there and then chop down the trees to get what we need from all the other spots. So I think that's kind of where we're at right now. I don't know if we necessarily take this just yet, But if I give this guy an axe, can I teach him to chop down a tree? Because that's really what I need to do right now, is I need to, like, chop down trees. Yeah, gather logs for sure on that list, and then gather rocks for sure on that list, because I can never find enough rocks. We could probably pick up another guy, too. Yeah, let's add another guy to the block, too, and we'll just have this guy follow us around, too. There we go. Now we got to do some serious tree chopping. I need to have somewhere in the realm of 60 to 70 logs, I think, to make this all work. I need like 50 logs to make it work. Then I got to chop down 25 while we actively have the quest. I get the feeling why there's no batch orders and why there's no like things to polish out the gameplay and make things happen faster and quality of life standards. My guess here is that's because they're expecting you to basically always roll with like a squad of homies that are basically automated to do all the things that you need them to do. Like you could have one guy just follow you around gathering the stuff for twine and making string. You could have one guy follow you around and pick up every single rock he sees and then convert them all into flints. I'm guessing they kind of want you to have these extra little tribe members that are following you around function kind of like little automated factories. That's why they have like 4 to 5 work orders they can have on them at any given time. It seems like that might be kind of like the logic to it, I guess. Durability is going to be another problem with this game, that I think this is actually really, really easy. You just change it in the code. Like, literally just add, like, double durability to everything in the game. All of your items break too fast. Like, I know from, like, a mental standpoint that we're using Caveman tools, and so, like, Caveman tools are going to break pretty fast. But at the end of the day, you also have to factor in the fact that it's a video game, and forcing the player to make a new axe, like, every 8 to 9 seconds is one of those things that's going to get tiresome really, really quickly. Honestly, these little guys have been gathering like crazy. They have all kinds of goodies in their inventory. That's probably what it is then. Now that we've got like 50 logs, let's go back over here. We'll take this quest, and we'll kind of see how the whole thing plays out. I don't know if I can knock it out in 15 minutes, but I'm sure as hell gonna try, and we'll see if we can get this thing done. So give me the quest. Warning, this is time-based, and failing it is the end of your story. Be prepared. All right, preparing for migration. We got to gather... It had to do like the Tuvon throat singing, bro. It had to do it. Let's go ahead and gather up as many logs as we physically can. I will chop down trees, and I will kind of do my best to get that there. But we need 25 of these first. So... I don't know if there's any, like, particularly wooded areas that I can knock this out in. There we go. It looks like there's, like, logs laying around over here all over the place. Can't always see them, but there's one right there. And then, what else we got? We got, like, twigs. I bet these trees right here drop logs. There we go. 2 more logs right there. I need my dudes. I need my guys to help me out with this. They're not making it easy. But they should, like, wander around and grab little things while we're out in the neighborhood, I hope. Yeah, so they've already gathered most of the food, which is good. It seems like that's mostly what they're kind of, like, distracting themselves with. This is kind of intense, dude. It feels like I'm going to cut this close. Alright, we got all the stuff. We got the 25 logs. We got, like, a load of food. Now what we need to do is just have a crafting spree. So I need 5 axes. We'll go ahead and whip those up real fast. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3, 4. I don't know if I'm going to have enough for 5. I think I only made, I was going to say, I only made a couple of flints, and I had to replace an axe that I broke. So there we go. We'll go ahead and grab this guy right here. Now that that's good, we need 5 clubs. So we will do that as well. Hopefully that doesn't deduct from my log supply. My inventory is unfortunately full, so I'm going to, like, panic drop everything I possibly can inside public storage real fast. So there we go. We got axes in there. We got clubs in here. Perfect. The javelin stack, so those will be less of an issue. But there's our last club. And then for the javelins, we need to have an axe. And it is going to take a lot of durability off these axes when we're making the javelins. So with the javelins, let's get those going. And we're done. Good. Quest is finished. We didn't actually soft lock our entire game. Let's talk to the shaman. We'll turn that thing in. And now we can gather more better things.
We follow. giving them a chase. Bound to the land the seasons will embrace. Across vast plains and rugged peaks we go. With the hope of return to known paths, that once again the sun shall burn.
Why does the sun look so threatening? Like, why does it look like it's gonna Alderaan me? The sun looked kind of angry, bro. It looked kind of mad. But that's the end of the demo right there. I wish there was more to it, because it seems like the whole demo was just kind of like a screw around tutorial. That's kind of a bummer. I always recommend that if you're going to do like a Next Fest demo, don't tutorialize it like at all. Let the player play the game as it lies so that they can get a good idea of it. So it's kind of a bummer that the demo ended right there, because I was kind of stoked about going a little bit further and gathering up some more things. But it's an interesting little pitch for a game. I like it. I love Caveman stuff. I think they're in a good spot. I think they need to rework combat to make it feel more fluid and make it feel better. I do think there's a lot of quality of life they need to fiddle around with here. The pathfinding is especially bad for the little guys that follow you around. But these guys are only in like version 0.1 right now, and this is like their first pitch demo for the Steam Next Fest. So they've probably got time to sort it on out. Hopefully it'll end up being everything that I wish Far Cry Primal had ended up being. I don't know. That was a really, really disappointing game for me that I was really bummed out about, because I love caveman stuff, like prehistoric things. And there's almost never anything prehistoric that's actually like focused on being a game rather than like an educational tool. Like they tend to, all the prehistoric man stuff tends to be like more interested in being an educational tool than being a video game. And so Far Cry Primal was like almost there, but not quite. But I like what this game's got going on. So I'm looking forward to seeing what future pushes look like from them. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were fooling around with a title called Polylithic. It's got a demo. I probably shouldn't have flown through it quite so fast, but then again, it's a pretty short demo to begin with, but it's one of the few things during this next festival that I thought looked promising. So I'll see y'all later. Thanks for stopping on in. It's about all I got. Bye, folks.